Jagmeet Singh is at risk of being deported as per the new FBI director in America. You also have an election that potentially could actually be called this upcoming week. You also have Polymarket, which is a betting site, and it seems that they have a little bit of a better gauge in terms of the polls. They're actually now showing the Liberals are going to win at 55%, which is a little bit crazy. Then you have Mark Carney's first act as prime minister is to axe the tax. And yes, it actually is legitimate despite a bunch of claims otherwise. All of that plus more is going to be in this video. So I hope you stick around for the full thing. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And before that we get into the news, I do have a message from today's sponsor. If you or your loved ones have a bad habit that you just can't kick, then today's sponsor, Fume, could help you with just that. Fume is a flavored air device that is a safe alternative to hitting the old Benjamin Franklin and has no vapor, so you can use it anywhere. Fume removes the need to go cold turkey and instead helps you kick the bad from your bad habit. Fume uses no electronics and no harmful chemicals. Instead, it's completely natural and can help you remove the bad in your bad habit with a natural and more guilt-free, tasty replacement. They have a ton of different flavors, but there's just something about the crisp mint that gives that cool Canadian air taste. Fume comes with a maximum moving parts to help satisfy fidgeting that comes from cravings. They also have the Fume base, which is a weighted stand that allows you to spin your Fume, because why not? Stopping is something that we all put off because frankly it's just very difficult to do, but switching to Fume is the easiest decision that you'll ever make. If you want to kick the bad habit, head on over to tryfume.com/Mr. Sunshine or scan the QR code and use Mr. Sunshine to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Thanks Fume for sponsoring today's video. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with Polymarket. According to Polymarket, you have the next Prime Minister of Canada is 55 or 52% likely to be Mark Carney, 48% likely to be Pierre Poilievre. I mean, everything is changing day to day, but it's kind of crazy. And I know a lot of people are saying, hey, that's BS. That's BS when it was the polls. But now that it's on the betting sites and there's actual money at stake, I don't know, but everything is very volatile and extremely fragile right now. Moving on, you have the Hudson Bay is pretty much going bankrupt. They are going to liquidate or potentially could liquidate their entire business starting next week.
Hudson's Bay is set to begin liquidating its entire business as soon as next week, unless it finds a more viable path forward. The department store chain, with 80 stores nationwide, says it has been unable to get the financing needed to restructure. Canada's oldest company is hopeful it can still find a solution and avoid a full shutdown. The closure of the entire business requires a court appearance, which is set for Monday. It would mean job losses for more than 9,000 employees. Let's bring in retail analyst now, Bruce Winder. Bruce, welcome. Wow. Thank you for being here. So what can we expect this week?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Renee. It's kind of a sad situation. The Bay will go to court on Monday and ask a judge whether they can prolong their CCAA protection, because it sounds like they haven't been able to find financing and they haven't been able to get enough concessions from landlords to be a going concern. They only have about $3 million in cash. They have about $1.1 billion in debt. So we could very well see the end, of Hudson's Bay soon, as they may start to liquidate as early as next week.
Well, that is a sad situation, as you say. Is there a chance that the Bay can avoid a full shutdown at this point?
There is a chance. They have between now and Monday. You never know. A white knight buyer may come out of the woodwork and approach them, or the judge may give them that extension, as I mentioned earlier. But, from an odds standpoint, it's just not looking good, unfortunately, for them right now.
Nothing screams being Canadian like a business going tits up just like our government. That is absurd. Only having $3 million in cash. The Hudson Bay, man, that's huge. It's everywhere. Wow. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. And then you have a story breaking from CTV saying Canadian officials, Muslim leaders call for action against Islamophobia. Kind of interesting. Federal officials marked International Day to Combat Islamophobia Saturday. Of course they did, by calling on Canadians to push back against the bigotry directed at the country's Muslim communities. But one organization that defends the civil rights of Canada's Muslims says it's not enough is being done to counter the rising tide of hate. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not on the receiving end of that hate, so it's obviously easier for me to say I don't see it. But I feel like, Islamophobia or attacking like Jewish, like anti-Semitism, like those things get brought to the spotlight all the time. But one thing that always gets buried is the attack on Christians. I think it was like a lot of Christians just got killed or beheaded in the Congo. You also have a bunch of churches here in Canada that have just gone poof, magically up in flames. And that's just something that the media doesn't cover because maybe it doesn't have as much of a zing factor because it's Christians. Like, oh yeah, that's just white people, whatever, right? But it's weird. It's weird. Look, if there's Islamophobia, I feel for that. But also, there was literally a bunch of people that just got beheaded in the Congo that are Christians. They got beheaded because they're Christians. And the media doesn't want to report on that. So, I don't know. Take that with what you will. Then you have Mark Carney, Sir Lord Carney, as people are calling him, who not only got sworn in, but also axed the carbon tax. And a lot of people are saying it's fake, it's not real, we don't do that. But we're going to take a little bit of a deeper look at it.
Mark Carney became Canada's 24th Prime Minister today. Presenting his new government to the Governor-General, Carney vowed to get to work.
I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trust reposed in me as Prime Minister.
Before the ceremony got underway, Justin Trudeau resigned privately. A muted end to his near decade in power.
Congratulations, Prime Minister.
Now,
he didn't resign quietly. The guy had like 17 different farewell messages on Twitter. Goodbye, everybody. It was great to be your prime minister. Please don't let anything change you. In a video message he did. And then he does another goodbye post and another one. It's just like, come on, man. We've had enough of you. Please leave.
Carney is looking to turn the page, removing several Trudeau-era ministers and not upholding gender parity. Among the major moves, François-Philippe Champagne takes on the key finance portfolio. Stephen Guilbeault has lost the climate file, moving into a new role focused on Canadian culture and identity.
Lovely.
And Kamal Khera, said to be a top party fundraiser, is now the health minister. Carney has also promoted 3 rookie MPs. Nova Scotian Cody Blois is in, as are Ontario MPs Ariel Kaya-Baga and Ali Assasi. Opting to keep some familiar faces at the forefront of Canada-U.S. relations amid a trade war, Anita Anand is now the industry minister. Dominic LeBlanc will stick-handle international trade. And Melanie Joly remains as the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Oh, my goodness.
Main Liberal leadership rival Chrystia Freeland is also back in the fold, accepting a lower position than she's had in years.
Internal trade has actually become sexy.
But how long this cabinet will be in place is a big question. Today, the Prime Minister made it clear voters will be going to the polls early.
There will be other news in the coming days with respect to ensuring that we have as strong a mandate that is needed for the time.
And in a move Carney is hoping means it won't be a carbon tax election, he signed an order doing away with Trudeau's unpopular consumer carbon tax.
So that right there, people, there's been rumors circulating that isn't legitimate and that was just for display and that it's not real at all. And so I've brought forward this post here by Billboard Chris on X, who breaks down this exact piece of paper that was signed. Okay, people are calling it fake. They're saying, oh, it's not real. It's just for show. This is what Billboard Chris had to say on X. Everyone's saying that this isn't worth the paper it's written on is mistaken. Many are just propagandists, of course. We live in a world full of them where truth is hard to come by. In Canada, An order in council is formally signed by the Governor General, who acts as the representative of the monarch, currently King Charles III. However, the Governor General does not independently decide what orders in council to issue. These orders are made on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, specifically the Privy Council, which is a body of advisors to the Crown. In practice, the process works as follows. The Cabinet, led by Prime Minister, in this case Carney, develops and approves a proposal. Example would be regulations, appointments, and other executive actions. That's what Carney just did yesterday with respect to the consumer carbon tax. The proposal is then submitted to the Governor General as an order in council. The Governor General signs the order, giving it legal effect, but this is a formal step based on the Cabinet's recommendation, reflecting Canada's constitutional monarchy system, where the monarch representative acts on the advice of elected officials. So while the Governor General physically signs order in council, it originates from the decision of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. And adding on, Billboard Chris also said that the Conservatives are again making a huge mistake saying this isn't valid or it's just a stunt. It is not a stunt, and now they're going to look bad and dishonest to regular voters. What they should be saying and doing is, look, we campaigned for the past 2 years on Axe the Tax, and now Carney is following our lead. Do you want a follower who is trying to buy votes, or do you want a leader who will do the right thing? And then they should move on to other positive things that they are going to do. According to Billboard Chris, they just look petty, dishonest, negative, and that is not how you run a winning campaign. So I'd love to pass the question off to you guys. Do you think this is good advice? Do you think it's bad advice? Let me know your reasoning down below. But one thing that a lot of us can agree on, or maybe again, this is a disagreement, is the fluctuation in the polls. Only a few months ago, Pierre Poilievre had an instrumental lead, 225 projected seats. Like, it was massive because everything was bad news surrounding Justin Trudeau. Now that Justin Trudeau has been removed from the picture, a lot of fence sitters, which there are millions of them, chances are you're not a fence sitter, but there are millions of them in this country that just turn on mainstream media, CTV, and they just listen to the headline stuff. And Pierre Poilievre's approach recently has been a little bit negative, and he hasn't been as conservative on some of the talking points, like coming out and saying mutilation of children would be bad. Like, that's like a really hard stance to take. And maybe he has said, well, I know that he has said that he doesn't want men in women's change rooms and things like that, but that's like a huge thing that even fence sitters are waiting for someone to say. And so I think that there's a little bit more of an aggressive but also positive approach that Pierre's campaign should be taking. But that's my opinion, folks. I would absolutely love to know yours. Maybe you guys are completely satisfied with Pierre Poilievre's campaign, but as per like social norms right now, it feels like there's been a lot more momentum on the Liberal side. I know what you're thinking. Carney's bad, corrupt banker, part of the World Economic Forum. Those taglines don't matter as much as Pierre Poilievre making these monumental changes, even though they're just tiny little microscopic changes to his campaign that could have an instrumental outcome. That's, again, my opinion. But now let's take a look here at CTV and what they have to say about how tight of a race this election really is.
Well, the next federal election could be just around the corner. Nick Nanos is here now to break down the numbers. He's the founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good, Roger. How you doing?
I can't complain. The Liberals can't complain either. What an interesting about face. The way everything is unfolding right now.
Absolutely. Hey, Roger, do you have election fever?
Although no. You heard Carney say, well, it'll happen before November, so who knows? I don't have it yet. It's coming, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Hopefully the fever won't kill us. Anyways, we're looking at you're asking about the ballot, the horse race, and it is an absolute horse race. And, the thing is now we have some numbers coming off of Mark Carney becoming selected leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Check it out, Roger, 36-35. It's basically a coin toss between the federal Conservatives and the Liberals, NDP back at third at around 15. And when you look at the changes, you can see the Conservatives are down 3, NDP are down 2, and the Liberals are up 5 points in the last 4 weeks. And it kind of speaks to some of the shifting around that's happening. That said, the trend has been favoring the Liberals, but Roger, I just like to say this from the get-go. Whenever the election is called, it's like a massive reset button. People will start to focus. All of the federal party leaders will have equal coverage, and it'll be then that we'll know the true strength of the Conservatives, the Liberals, and the NDP.
Absolutely. But have you ever seen a change like this in such a short time?
No, and I think a lot of this has to do with a combination of a government that's been in power since 2015 and an unpopular leader, Justin Trudeau, stepping down, Donald Trump doing a full-on economic assault on Canada, and Canadians being very engaged. And, you know, Roger, doesn't it feel like the election has already started because people are tuning into politics now much more than they have in non-election cycles?
Well, don't they say politicians are always campaigning? No matter what is going on. The interesting thing, Carney's now prime minister. What do you think that will do with the numbers? Any indications?
Well, you know, the thing is that right now it's the promise of Mark Carney. People really don't know a lot about the guy other than, you know, some high level things. It's also going to be interesting to see how he performs. The other thing, I think, Roger, we should say that probably, and this probably isn't good news for the Conservatives, the next week will probably be an infomercial for Mark Carney and the Liberals because he is the prime minister. The prime minister always gets default coverage. He's going to Europe, obviously for some reason, and I expect him to come back with something. And
it's very dangerous territory for the Conservatives right now, right? Because there's just so much momentum, positive momentum, right? According to mainstream media and a lot of normies out there that are fence sitters and stuff like that. And it is giving them a bit of an uptick. I don't like it just as much as the next Conservative. I think it stinks. I think a lot of these things are publicity stunts, right? The reversal of the carbon tax is like totally 180-degree reversal from where they've been going for the past several freaking years. And it just seems like they're taking the Conservatives' ideas and they're doing it publicly, whether it's only temporary or whether it's permanent, whether he rebrands the carbon tax to something else down the road. That almost doesn't really matter between now and the election. And the more that we scream about that and say, oh, it's just fake, it's not really going to matter because right now it's real. And that's what is so dangerous. But what also is real is this right here. You have Liberal MPs that are getting their campaign signs ready. So it is happening. It does seem like they are going to call an election. This post was made by Liberal MP George Chahal yesterday. They are getting ready, folks. And so seems like it really is going to happen. And speaking of happening, you've got this post here that's been getting a lot of attention on X. Kash Patel warns that Jagmeet Singh entering the USA will result in extradition to India over his Khalistan ties, which is a very real thing. It's something that I'm personally still trying to learn quite a bit about, is Jagmeet's ties to the Khalistan movement and how basically Khalistan doesn't even really exist that much in India. It's pretty much here in Canada and the UK. That's extremely frightening. But that's not the only post that I've seen around that. I've also seen this one right here by John Smith saying Kash Patel has warned Jagmeet that if he were to enter the United States, he would be extradited to India over his Khalistan ties. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this does play out. But I am 100% on board with Jagmeet Singh being removed from Canada, North America. Like, I don't like the guy. I don't like him as an MP. And I probably personally wouldn't like him either. I think he's scum of the earth. And I can't wait for him to also step down, hopefully, the way that Justin Trudeau did, or lose in an election, an absolutely humiliating defeat. But I don't think that he would run in an election if it's really pointing to him being completely wiped out. Then you have David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia. I fully endorse David Eby, man. David Eby has Mr. Sunshine's full approval. I'm just joking. That's because he keeps threatening me or using my name in very slanderous ways, which have led to death threats to be in my family. Let's see what he has to say here when it's talking about cruise ships. Cruise ships in British Columbia and Alaska. Kind of an interesting topic.
And there are some things that you can only get from Canada.
David Eby trying to reassure the public in a town hall in Surrey about the costs to BC in a trade war. While he has threatened tolls for trucks passing through to Alaska, the U.S. threatening to strike back. Senator Dan Sullivan suggesting ships could be diverted away from BC ports. A view not shared by the state Senate Majority Leader or the senior U.S. Senator from Alaska.
Senator Lisa Murkowski and I see eye to eye on this. We are aligned. Stop this silly battle.
The trade war has continued to escalate for more than a month now. Federally, the government levying billions in countermeasures. But Canadian provinces believe they're in a position to take action as well. While the truck toll hasn't gone into effect yet, the Premier sees no other option than to keep the lever available should he need it.
Trade wars only hurt people. They don't benefit anybody. This is our message to Donald Trump. This is our message to all Americans. We don't want this fight. We didn't sign up for it, but that doesn't mean we're not going to arm ourselves.
Changing course on Alaska-bound ships more difficult than it sounds. Legislation requires all foreign-built vessels to stop at a foreign destination before traveling to another U.S. port. Senator Dan Sullivan pushing for an executive order to get the result. But the issue in the short term is logistics. The cruise schedule set 2 or 3 years in advance, and Vancouver is closer to the Alaskan ports of call. The industry saving money, basing the trips from Cole Harbour.
Obviously, the cruise lines would prefer that this trade dispute be resolved soon for the benefit of both countries and for our cruise passengers.
Both the Port of Vancouver and Victoria issuing statements Friday indicating they are watching the situation closely. Some estimates suggest every ship that docks at a BC port is worth $3 million to the local economy.
Wow.
With more than 300 ships arriving at both Vancouver and Victoria in 2025, the consequences to local business could be significant.
When you think about the service industry, when you think about the hospitality industry, many people rely on the cruise ship season to make their ends meet.
Yeah, we're talking billions of dollars at stake here potentially, and for the business.
Freaking leave it up to BC. Leave it up to the premiers to absolutely just mess everything up. Like mess up our economy trying to stick it to America. Yeah, we're really going to stick it to the cruise ships by missing out on billions of dollars injected into our economy. Great job, David Eby. Oh my goodness, man. These people are mental. Like David Eby is just like a thinner, taller, radical version of Doug Ford. Like these people are nuts. And that's bad for Doug Ford because he's supposed to be a conservative, but he's not even a liberal at this point. He's a radical NDPer, man. These people are freaking nuts. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I've never been on a cruise. I don't know if now is the best time to start, but I just putting it out there. I wonder if it's good. Anyone who's been on a cruise, let me know what your guys' experience is. Is it good? Is it bad? Especially with kids. Let me know what you guys think. Then you have this video here where Rubio defends Trump's 51st state rhetoric while on Canadian soil. Man, that's a tough pill to swallow.
A mere difference of opinion. That's how America's top diplomat described ongoing threats to violate Canadian sovereignty.
There's a disagreement between the president's position and the position of the Canadian government.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio tried to paint Donald Trump's 51st state talk as a two-sided debate, an idea Canada calls a non-starter.
What I said to the secretary is Canada's sovereignty is not up to debate, period.
But the message does not appear to be getting through to the Trump administration, which continues to entertain annexation.
The president has made his argument as to why he thinks Canada would be better off joining the United States for economic purposes.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says her European counterparts at the G7 summit initially brushed off Trump's comments.
The reaction of my colleagues coming from Europe was really about this absurd threat of annexation. Was really is that a joke?
The tone seems to be shifting.
Alongside our Canadian friends, we share a sovereign, we share a history.
In Charlevoix, it's the Germans who are most willing to speak up for Canada.
We Germans and Canada are not only partners, we are close friends. And friends have each other's back.
The foreign ministers have tried to present a united front here.
What the heck is Germany going to do for Canada? Like, all these countries are saying we stand with Canada. Like, I get it socially, maybe, but in reality, you can't stand with Canada against America. No country in the world can stand against America. If America wants something, they're just going to try and take it. But that doesn't mean that I am pro being 51st state. I definitely like Canada. I like having a border there. I've entertained the possibility of being the 51st state and what that would look like. But I feel like, get rid of the bad parts of our economy right now. Canada's awesome. Canada is such a wicked, wicked place. Now, if there were a different type of deal with America that we can still keep our Canadian dollar, even though it's absolutely crap right now, and just keep our traditions and how we go about things, that might be really cool. But hey, my mind can be changed, right? So we're gonna have to wait and see how this does play out. That is the end of the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel on your way out. And also, I want to thank Fume one last time for sponsoring today's video. I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.